Okay, it's July 11th, and update 1.08 just came out, so I figured I'd take a look at the change logs, and then I'll get into search and rescue. I've done that one 5 times. Anyway, update focuses on stability improvement, anti-cheat improvements, and fixes to most major known issues. Cool. Oh, and a few new PvE scenarios. Ability to change map size in skirmish and custom lobbies. Alright. I mean, I've only played the campaign so far, and I haven't gotten into skirmish or scenarios yet, so I don't have any experience with that. New PvE scenarios. These are apparently from my understanding, these are apparently the tower defense scenarios from, like, back in the November beta. Balance changes, monitoring the evolution of best performance strategies and their counters. Still evolving, so we don't want to add lots of major changes simultaneously. Alright. Reduce sprint cooldown from 60 to 30 seconds for every infantry recon infantry unit. Okay, that's cool. I like that. This modification will deeply impact the balance by giving infantry the ability to use one sprint charge to attack a position and sprint away with artillery starts raining. If they say sprint charge, and that kind of makes me wonder if you kind of treat sprint like smoke grenades, and that some units might have multiple charges, even though it wouldn't really make that much sense. And then they refill consecutively, like let's say you have 3 charges and it takes 30 seconds for each charge to refill. You can use all 3 charges at once for 30 seconds of sprint speed, but it would take you 90 seconds to refill them all. Anyway, I'm reading too much into it. But lower cooldown on sprint would be nice. Most cases, memory leak. I don't know if this is has anything to do with it, but I have noticed occasionally that the game will freeze. So I wonder if that's related to what they're talking about here. Reconnect functionality, tweaks and improvements, numerous fixes, and then anti-cheat. Now, honestly, I don't play multiplayer, so this doesn't really have any effect on me. However, I understand how this is important. Also, speaking of which, they released this yesterday, and there's just a lot of people in the comments. Talking about banning China, or not banning China, region locking China and Russia. Again, I don't play multiplayer. I have never played a single multiplayer game or match in this game in either release or in the betas, so I don't know. Although an interesting comment I do find is somewhere here. Where is it? There have also been cases of players banned from multiplayer for having cheated in single player. Our system cannot differentiate between single player and multiplayer at the moment. So while we wouldn't object to the use of cheats in single player in normal circumstances, we cannot allow them right now as it wouldn't be a simple change. So they don't object to cheats in single player. Now some games actually have some games actually have like built-in cheats. Like you could go to the settings and activate cheats as you wish. And I wonder if they would introduce something similar to this for the campaign. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Plans for the near future. Further improve our game by fixing known issues and solving problems. New content making the overall experience better. Co-op scenarios. Surrender feature for multiplayer games and progressive penalties for leavers. I don't know what the surrender does necessarily. I would kind of like that explained. New UI screen for scenarios, QOL, improvements for single player scenario experience. And then a full list of changes. Added option change map size. Game servers in several Southeast Asian countries. Added portraits for Baltic States vehicles. If you remember back in Peacekeeper, the PZH 2000s didn't have portraits. Then again, neither did the MTLB anti-aircraft vehicles in Search and Rescue. Added swimming animation for ground troops where applicable. So PDSS and pilots, I assume. PVE 1 to 3. Player Kaliningrad scenario and Ruda scenario. And they're both tower defense style. Fixed crashes. Okay. Adjusted matchmaking. I did look through this. I just thought it'd be interesting to look through it on video. Flares, achievement. Wasn't able to override anti-overkill with AA by clicking right mouse on desired target. I wonder about that anti-overkill system, because that doesn't appear to be in place in the campaign. Which I'm fine with. I kind of... If I'm going to be honest, I kind of wish you had the ability to turn the anti-overkill system on and off. Maybe as either a per unit basis or just as a general setting. Fixed M712 Copperhead VFX looking like cluster. Fixed MC130 and having no model under certain circumstances. Fixed Tochka U's missile texture being pink. Fixed cat toe Marines pose with the M240. Ah, yes, that. If we were to go over here real quick. He's now holding the M240 instead of having it on the ground, which was a holdover for back when this squad had a Mark 19. Fixed an issue with the S300V/S350/S300PM deployment animation being stuck resulted in missiles being fired directly into the ground. That sounds hilarious. Bay of Wind zone capture. Campaign fixes and improvements. Blackout mission. Fixed mission being stuck in some cases. I never experienced that. Don't know. Showtime mission. Fixed time related medal could not be earned. When players being stuck if they fail the bombing run too many times. Peacekeeper. Intro cutscene. Self-service. Okay, the timer for the final stage has been increased to 20 minutes. It was 5 minutes by default. By final stage, I assume what they're meaning is the time between the tangle, is the time between the tangle between the Sukhois and the FA-18s, and then the FA-18s coming back and you automatically losing the mission. So that's what I assume they mean. Also, this is a very interesting change. When bringing supplies to Batalon, he will now give you 2 helicopters right away instead of adding them to the reinforcements. Very, very nice change. And assuming this doesn't affect the amount of supplies you need to gather, you can actually cheese this because, I mean, those KA-52s are 320 points. The Mi-28s are 330 points. If you're given 2 of each for the 40,000 and 80,000 supply caps, you just, if I'm understanding it correctly, you might be able to tell those 4 helicopters to RTB, and that's like, what, 1,300 points out of the 3,000 you need to gather? Which is particularly notable because just in supply cost, you need to bring Batalon 1,400 points. And that's not counting the the two Mi-24 variants that you would get from just bringing him 20,000 points. So yeah, that actually could pay for itself. Papers pleased, invisible units. I don't think I countered that. Balance of pre-placed equipment. So what, they buffed and nerfed some stuff, I think? Various improvements to behavior. Mission stuck due to losing HQ zone. All units received appropriate camouflage. Cold Harbor. Various improvements for each difficulty level. Player has now slightly more resources and units. I don't think I never really experienced a problem with that, but okay. The behavior of attack waves from Narva has been improved. When pilots could have been detected prior to secondary mission popping up. Minor improvements to Batalion's movements, and all units receive winter camouflage. Forbidden Waters. I don't think I've played that one yet. Have I played that one? I do not think I have played. Forbidden Waters, Ride to the VDV. I was saying finish mission Forbidden Waters. Okay, so that is Forbidden Waters. No, I have not played that one. Broken Arrow. Various fixes to voiceovers. Fixed a bug where the Greenlight team was able to capture the last objective Bennett plan. I'm pretty sure that's what happened in my playthrough. So now I'm going to have to play that mission a third time. The second time to see Miller's plan, just to see it, even though I think he's an absolute idiot. And then the third time just so I can actually complete the mission properly. Balance. Reduce sprint cooldown. Fixed mistaken base price of cat toe. 110 down, or is now 100. Okay. So that was kind of interesting because I highlighted this when I looked at these specializations. Because the cat toe team was 110, but the price of the toe 2B was still 30. And I compared this to the dragon team being 110, but the javelin top attack was only 15. So I'm assuming there was some sort of mix-up where only the cat dragon team was supposed to be 110, and there was some sort of mix-up in the office, and they made the toe 2A 110 as well. So, oh, okay. So yeah, that would actually make the toe 2A slightly more competitive, I think. Spetsnaz GRU Verba added a second Verba launcher to balance the interest in this option with the two others. Second Verba launcher, I believe that's motor. Oh yes, they do have two Verbas now. Okay. And I take it they still have 6? Yeah, they still have 6 missiles. Alright. The next one was price 60s, now 70. I think, was that guards? Yeah, that's now 70. Okay. And then the BTR ZD with the ZU-23M plus Igla, they fixed the optics value. Fixed TUS 1's rear heat armor being inferior to the kinetic. A222 Bereg. What do they do to the, Okay, well that's 1200. 1200. 1200. Low altitude range 32. That's 16. That's 32. That's 32 as well. Okay. Alright, that's kind of interesting. Also, apparently there was some weird bug with the toss. Where's the toss? There's the toss. About the rear armor being... I mean, it's fixed now, so I can't see what it was, but... Alright. Alright. So now I have to play Search and Rescue. Also, that's telling me to finish Forbidden Waters. I honestly don't know what's going on there. I might have to finish... I might actually have to finish Forbidden Waters. That's called the Ride of the VDV, so... But lions go to there and not there. I'll just do it. Okay, let's try this once again.
The fuel collected at the refinery enabled battalion to reach Jelgava. It is the last city on our way before Riga. The situation there seems to be a complete mess. I wasn't able to reach anyone over the radio for the past 12 hours.
A recent drone reconnaissance is showing heavy artillery shelling and close quarter combat on the western bank, but there is no clear front line and it's hard to distinguish who is who. Colonel, take the commander with you. Re-establish cohesion between our troops and resume the assault. I want the city taken and the road to Riga opened without further delay.
Damn, it feels like Grozny all over again. Let's hope there is still someone to save this time.
Yeah, Grozny was
There's a small airfield
mess.
near the city. We will establish a command post there. Battalion, you will defend the perimeter, while the commander conducts the first reconnaissance.
But sir, how come I'm the one that's always kept in reserve? How am I supposed to distinguish myself if I'm always given these ungrateful tasks?
You are young and impulsive, Battalion. Such temper can cost the life of many men.
But sir, I want to be like you, a war hero. There are books about you at the academy. Your man called you the man who didn't fear the bullets. I would like my name to impose respect too. I don't come from a rich family. I had to compete all my life with the sons of someone and work twice as hard to prove myself.
Forget this name. The man who didn't fear the bullets. You have no idea of the cost that comes with such a name.
So that is why I'm always a second choice to you. I thought you would be different, and that you would be able to see beyond names and origins.
I don't care about your name or who the fuck your mother and father are, Battalion. Now, go and prepare your troops for the task I've assigned you.
At your orders, sir.
What happens, Colonel? You seem upset. Has a ghost of the past come to haunt you?
Nothing you shouldn't already know, as I'm sure you've done a background check on me. Now, if you excuse me, I have another city to conquer, apparently.
Okay, so Batalin is obviously incredibly and dangerously brash. I understand Batalin pulling himself up by his bootstraps. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. But Batalin wanting to basically be a war hero, that's... generally war heroes never wanted to be war heroes before they became war heroes. And generally the people who wanted to become war heroes would... no. Although, I will say that the comment there with Morozova and the Colonel, I kind of wonder whether or not Batalin reminds the Colonel of someone he lost, like maybe his son or something back in Grozny. So, who knows? I mean, I think we're going to find out. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I just also think Batalin is ridiculous. Also, like, his comment about shoot, what was it? Ungrateful tasks? Yeah, ungrateful tasks. You know, to be someone who's supposed to be, like, a top graduate from a military academy, if I'm remembering the video correctly, you don't understand much about how to wage war, do you? Anyway, I'll stop yapping. I just love how the chassis of the grads are bouncing up and down with the rockets. Also, this looks like an absolute mess.
Just in time. Half an hour ago, Battalion went on a reconnaissance mission, and we lost communication. I hope he's all right. Do some reconnaissance of your own. Find Battalion, and find out what's going on in this damn city.
Куда вас доставить? Уже еду. Guys, there's a car approaching from the rear. Hold your fire. Commander, is that you? Be careful, don't go any further. The enemy controls all the vantage points. Those bastards won't let us raise our heads. I've organized a defensive position with the scattered troops I found at the outskirts of town. But the situation is dire. I can't re-establish contact with the rest of our troops. The HQ was hit hard by artillery yesterday, and we have lost all contact since then. The enemy is constantly sneaking up on us with snipers and anti-tank missiles. We're reduced to using mine-clearing vehicles as makeshift artillery to repel them.
Understood. Battalion, you have done enough. Go to the base and wait for further instructions. The commander will take over from here. I'm sending you transport helicopters with supplies. Use your trucks to dispatch them to our troops. Restore their cohesion and rally them under your command. Act quickly. We need to reconnect with our troops on the other side of the city as soon as possible. Supplies delivered. Good luck.
Okay, so this is another, I say another. Well, yeah, this is another one of the more interesting mechanics that the developers cooked up for these campaign missions. I will say, I'm actually pretty impressed at the ingenuity in some of these campaign missions. And they're all in the Russian campaign. I mean, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, I just find it interesting. But first you had Narva with the vehicle crews, and then you had self-service with the helicopters, and then you have this. Like the mission in Narva, Papers, Please, you don't have vehicle crews. Or you don't get points. You don't get income. You find your units on the map, but instead of bringing vehicle crews to the units, you have to bring them a certain amount of supplies. Now, you got units spread all the way over here. You've got like 2 infantry platoons. There's one more over here, I believe. There's a tank platoon over here. There's an artillery battery over here. There's an anti-aircraft platoon over here. I believe this over here is where you can find a platoon of assault infantry, and you've got a platoon of flamethrower or infantry over here. So yeah, that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, give or take. And you gather all those units, and then you're going to need to push across this bridge. You're probably going to want to take this fort, because it's got a lot of nasty things involving anti-tank missiles in it. And then you're going to want to push up until you reach that cluster of buildings, and then you're going to want to capture that. And once you do, the mission's over. Sounds simple, right? Yeah, no, there's a bunch of things crawling over all over there. That's not great. And yeah. Anyway. Oh boy. So the trucks go and gather the supplies. You then have to empty the supplies. Oh, and it's worth noting that in order to get the artillery and the tanks, you need to deliver the 8,000 supplies, not just 4,000. So that's 2 trucks worth. Now, it's worth noting that in these 3 high-rises, these 2 contain a tote, or not tote team. They contain a spike team and a 50 cal team. This one only contains a pair of 50 cal teams.
The first mechanized platoon is now under your command. The second mechanized platoon has been resupplied and is now under your command. All units are patched up and ready to fight.
And basically what that means is the once you clear out the 2 skyscrapers on the left, you could just have your BMP ones roll up to the one on the right and clear it out the old-fashioned way without much of a problem. And you want the artillery. Trust me, you want the artillery. Okay. Are they gonna get in the truck? I told them to get in the truck. Hey, they're in the truck. Good. Now, I need...
Боевая машина пехоты на связи. Приказ понял, едем. Тяжелый транспорт здесь.
Sort these out.
Кому нужны припасы? Дорога наш дом. Пехота здесь. Пехотинцы ждут ваших приказов. Грузимся.
You don't really have to worry about the enemy being aggressive, I find. So, that's not too big of a deal.
Транспорт заказывали?
Grab the Typhoon. I mean, you do have to worry a little bit.
Двигаюсь к точке.
Now I want mortar and a pair of UR-77s
Понял, принял.
to go over there.
Транспорт ждет приказа. Приказ понял.
Now,
Выезжай.
remember what I said about these two buildings being the only two that have ATGMs? Yeah, we're gonna remove these two first. This one is not much of a problem, all things considered. Even if it was, you could, you're basically using these complexes here as cover. At least that's what I find. I find doing that works pretty well.
Говори, куда накрыть. Сделаю. Выдвигаемся.
And meanwhile, there's a bunch of XA-180s and scimitars that's just patrolling around here. And while the XA-180s aren't much of a threat, at least not to the BMPs,
Принял.
the UR-77s aren't armored at all, so that's a completely different story. The scimitars can be a pain in their own right.
Координаты.
What are you shooting at? You're shooting at a scimitar.
Выполняю. Бэха, слушай.
Just, you know what? Just don't shoot unless you need to. Because these scimitars, they're going to be fleeting. You're not going to see them. So, just don't.
Координаты.
Now, grab a mortar. A long fire mission. Who's firing an ATGM? They are. Okay, cool.
Ударю громко.
Now, from their vantage point, they're seeing the...
Понял.
get there quick, please. Okay, well, I was gonna say get there quick. Well, that complicates things. And it is not uncommon.
Арту вызывали. Выполняю. Готов сотрясать землю. Понял, принял. Принял. БМП слушает. Транспорт заказывали? Беглый огонь. Если не сменю позицию, то мне конец. Арта рядом.
Well, this went south. Try not for that to happen. All right.
Да, командир. Выполняю. Понял. Принял. Арт-расчет на связи. Нам бы за горку или в лесок, а то кирдык. Понял, принял.
Okay.
Да,
Fire mission again.
привет.
This is really starting to get on my nerves.
Выполняю.
This plan generally works if you aren't rushed by a pair of XI-180s.
Арту вызывали.
Get in there.
Накрыть площадь. Сделаю. Принял. Выполняю.
What are you doing? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I need like 4 of these
На связи.
just to go over here. Also, there's generally something not very nice in one of these buildings as well, so
Понял.
hmm. What are you firing a missile at? Nothing, apparently. You're just spiking it into the ground for funsies.
Говори, куда накрыть. Понял, принял. Принял. Сделаю. Боевая машина пехоты здесь. Приказ понял, выезжаем. Выполняю.
You know, honestly, the XA-180s aren't a problem. The problem is the infantry inside them that pops out like a nightmarish pinata once you take care of the vehicle itself.
Понял. Минометный расчет на связи. Никто не выживет.
Also, I had originally thought I could use this strategy with the smoke and the mortars back in Vampires with the cafe. That was the idea I had back in that mission,
Да, командир.
but I never actually got the opportunity to do it.
Говори, куда накрыть. Работаю. Куда вас доставить? Пути.
First enemy position secured.
Уже еду. Пути. По нам отработали. Двигаемся. Это пехота. Мы в огневом контакте с противником. Чё встали? Готов сотрясать землю.
Well, now we know that they're not there anymore. And then who's the URs? Because the UR is still alive and in one piece.
Коробочка на приеме. Заводи мотор. Пехота здесь. Принял, выдвигаемся.
We've got this high riser under our control. Move on.
Принял, выдвигаемся. Приказ понял, выезжаем. Транспорт на связи. Тут засада. РПГ, готовы стрелять.
Generally, there's something over here that causes problems.
Двигаюсь к точке. Заводи мотор. Пути. Пехота здесь, ведем бой. Это пехота. Принял, зачищаем. Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Разгружай картоху. Транспорт заказывали?
Okay, well, getting 3 of the UR-77s and 2 of the BMP-1s blown up in the first stage of the mission was not according to plan.
Минометный расчет ждет ваших указаний. Выполняю.
You know, I argued that the BMP-1 PG might be an interesting alternative
Логистика здесь.
to the BMP-1 AM, specifically because the PG had
Да, командир. Грузовой автомобиль готов.
specifically because the PG had a different set of weapons compared to the AM. I'm starting to wonder that if the AM is just better.
Логистика готова. Подай газку.
Where's the VDV truck? There's the VDV truck.
Принял. Выдвигаюсь. Снабжение заказывали? Катимся.
Do need to grab another one of these trucks.
Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке.
Alright, all clear. Now we can start regrouping with the rest of our guys scattered in the city.
Арт-расчет на связи.
Establish defenses in front of the main breach to prevent any further enemy breakthrough, while you locate and rally as many units as possible. We need to put together a large strike for our offensive. I send helicopters transporting supplies and recon units. Use them to find and rally our scattered units. Resources are limited, so spend them wisely. Once you estimate that you have gathered enough forces, attack the castle. Apparently, US Marines have established defensive positions there, controlling the breach.
Although with only one UR-77, this next part's going to be a touch interesting.
Supplies delivered. Good luck.
Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке. Давай прокатимся. Разведка ВДВ слушает. Выше нас только звезды.
Where is the UR? There's the UR. Place you right there.
Принял.
Because the anti-aircraft team is right there. There's another mechanized platoon right there. The tanks are there. The artillery's there. I want those artillery pieces specifically. And what I would generally do, and I generally do this with 2 of the
Минометный расчет.
UR-77s,
Принял.
is I would, because this building has a ATGM team in it, and this building has an ATGM team in it, so I would dump some smoke here, use one UR-77 to hit this building, take the other UR-77 to about right here, and then hit that building. But because I only have one UR-77, no,
Минометный расчет здесь.
it's going to be kind of interesting.
Арту вызывали. Понял. Координаты.
Oh, nuts.
Не смотри, что сзади. Просто жми. Да, командир. Сделаю.
The mortar's out of smoke.
Куда вас
That's a bit of
довести?
a pest.
Логистика готова. Как ракетные сани на рельсах. Приказ понял, выезжаем.
Commander, you found a platoon of штурмовики. There is nothing like assault infantry for urban combat. Get them the supplies they need to rally them.
Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Поддай газку. Дорога наш дом. Мы переезжаем. Транспорт на связи. Под огнем мы. Погнали! Погнали! Приказ понял. Едем. Минометный расчет слушает. Готов сотрясать землю. Выполняю. Минометный расчет на связи. Ударю громко.
The anti-aircraft platoon survived. Get them supplies. These guys are gonna be very useful against USMC choppers. Now it is clear why our guys are hiding. All the high buildings are controlled by the enemy. Any attempt to move is met by an anti-tank missile or sniper bullet.
Катимся. Готов. Координаты.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but it worked. Where is...
Снабжение заказывали? Выдвигаюсь.
Okay, so one of them apparently hit the skyscraper. Well, that's a bit inconvenient.
Арт-расчет на связи. Принял. Грузовой автомобиль готов.
Come on.
Логистика здесь. Выгружаю.
Thank you.
Штурмовики resupplied and ready for the assault.
Давай прокатимся. Пехота ждет указаний. По машинам. Пехота на приеме. По коням, парни. БМП слушает. Уже еду.
I was hoping to save those, but okay.
Транспорт ждет приказа. Пути. Здесь, ведем бой. Поехали, потом заведешь. Транспорт в бою, жду приказов. Уже в пути. Боевая машина пехоты здесь. Двигаюсь к точке. Готов сотрясать землю.
Oh, good grief.
Понял. Накрыть площадь. Логистика здесь. Координаты.
Well, that better have been enough.
Понял, принял. Сделаю. БМП на связи.
Now, where is my trucks?
Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке. Вечеринка окончена. Вылазим, парни. Бэха здесь. Приказ понял. Выезжаем. Тяжелый транспорт здесь. Катимся. Транспорт на связи. Транспорт здесь. Выдвигаемся.
The anti-aircraft platoon is back in formation and ready to carry out your orders.
Готово. Нехватка витаминов. Транспорт на поле боя.
Well,
Пехота под обстрелом. Понял, идем на зачистку. на связи. Какие ваши указания? Пехота ждет указаний. Пехота ждет приказа. Запрыгивай! Мотолыга тут. Как ракетные сани на рельсах. Куда вас довести? Принял. Выдвигаюсь.
So here's the thing. When I went to assault the castle, I thought I'd be clever and take this side road and then come at it from the south. Yeah, no. Don't try and be clever. These woods are packed full of recon infantry. Or the same kind of infantry that's giving me problems here. I mean, they are loaded with them.
Коробочка на приеме. Заводи мотор. Грузовой автомобиль готов.
They're attacking across the main bridge again. They know we're here this time.
Транспорт заказывали?
Кого нейтрализовать? Выполняю. Тихой сапой.
The problem is those.
На ходу.
Нехватка витаминов. Пехотинцы ждут ваших приказов. Тук-тук.
I prefer if they stop doing that.
БМП слушает.
Мы всегда идем первыми. Команда газы.
Ноги в руки. точке. Кому нужны припасы? Транспорт здесь. Приказ понял. Едем. Здесь жарко. Куда вас доставить? Давай заднюю.
Commander, we've re-established contact with a tank platoon. They appear to be our last surviving tanks, and they are in poor condition. It will require quite a lot of supplies to bring them back into action. The remnants of the enemy attack are retreating. Good work, Commander. But it's too early to relax. Now they'll start reinforcing the defenses on their side of the river. We need to hurry. Gather more troops for the offensive. I have also requested air support. Several bombers stand ready to pave the way for a ground offensive. Commander, you found another mechanized platoon. Bring them supplies if you want to rally them. Look! A platoon of flamethrower infantry. These guys are experts at storming forests and city blocks with their incendiary rockets.
Логистика готова. Выгружаю. Логистика здесь. Разгружай картоху. Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке. Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Транспорт заказывали? Выдвигаемся. Уже еду. Приказ понял, выезжаю. Огонь на подавление. Двигаюсь к точке. Прижмем их.
can never have too much infantry. Commander, the tank platoon is ready to carry out your orders. Be careful with all those anti-tank missiles lurking around. You rallied enough units to start the offensive. I'm sure there are more you didn't find, but time is running out. Intelligence reports that USMC reinforcements are on their way from Riga. We can't wait any longer. Triangulation of enemy radio signals allowed us to determine the location of their headquarters somewhere around those high rises. Your mission is to cross the river and attack the enemy's headquarters. Battalion will attack parallel to you, across the bridge on your left flank. Su-24 bombers and Su-2510 killers support is available. I have notified them and they are now operating under your command.
Грузовой автомобиль готов.
Thank you, go away.
Арту вызывали. Понял, принял. Снабжение заказывали. Т-72 на связи. Понял, принял.
Okay, so
Логистика готова.
grab those 3 trucks,
Мы переезжаем.
move them over here.
БМП на связи. Выдвигаемся. Куда вас доставить? Уже еду. Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Дорога наш дом. Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке.
Colonel, the resource have arrived. I'm launching the attack on the flank now.
Wait! The right flank is not yet ready to attack. They just regained combat readiness and are not yet in battle formation.
Too late, Colonel. They certainly spotted us already. Any delay would be fatal. Let's go, guys! To battle! Давай!
Battalion! Damn you! Okay, Sokol 1, Sokol 2, requesting airstrikes and these coordinates. Level those buildings other side of that bridge.
Поездка окончена. Транспорт на связи. Принял. Выдвигаемся.
Oh, and they've got air defenses.
Short, surface-to-air missiles firing from the city. We received the approximate coordinates from the pilots. Destroy them at the first opportunity before we lose all the air power we've been allocated.
Okay, cool.
Логистика здесь. Давай прокатимся.
They can actually do that fairly easily.
Look, it's our heavy artillery. It seems pretty intact, but they're almost out of ammunition. It will require quite a lot of supplies to get them back into action. The howitzers are reloaded and ready to support us with long-range fire.
Как ракетные сани на рельсах.
God of Fire has found its preachers. The flamethrower platoon is under your command.
Грузовик снабжения под огнем! Мой грузовик попал под удар. Нужен ремонт.
I have no idea what they're using.
Двигаемся! Мотолыга на приеме. Катимся.
Unless it's a sniper rifle.
Да. Принял.
But yes, there's air defense right there. Air defense right there. There's a couple artillery pieces over here. And then there's this. And looks like Battalion has found all of that juicy recon infantry that I ran into on my first try. Oh,
Тактический грузовик
forgot
готов
about
к
these
перевозке.
trucks.
Выдвигаюсь. Туры на приеме. Это туры. Меняем ППД. Давай, давай. Транспорт, слушай. Заводи мотор. Куда вас довезти? Пути. Двигаюсь к точке. Коробочка на приеме. Выдвигаемся. Приказ понял, выезжаем. Грузовой автомобиль готов. Здесь вражеские вертолеты не пролетали? Отделение поддержки на приеме. По коням. Бэха, слушай. БМП слушает. Приказ понял. Едем.
Oh, he's actually making pretty solid progress. That doesn't happen very often. Generally, Battalion gets all of his men killed.
Логистика здесь. Огневая поддержка на связи. Зайти на борт. Транспорт заказывали? Катимся.
Anyway,
Да, командир. Никто не выживет.
now I need one of the Typhoons.
Уже еду. Снабжение заказывали? Пехотинцы ждут ваших приказов.
Okay, well, if we're not seeing anything utterly horrible over there.
Тяжелый транспорт здесь. Дорога наш дом. Логистика готова. Семьдесят двойка. Поехали, потом заведем. Баталыга здесь. Давай прокатимся. Боевая машина пехоты здесь. Как ракетные сани на рельсах.
Colonel, we've reached the outskirts of the city. My guys will hold these positions. That was fucking heroic! Now it's your turn to prove yourself, Commander.
Roger that, battalion. Commander, don't lag behind. Push on your side as well.
Т-72 слушай. На максимальных оборотах. Принял. Выдвигаюсь. Прием. Кто здесь?
Did they already deploy their smoke? No, they did.
Арт-расчет на связи. Выполняю. Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Покинуть салон. Транспорт в бою, жду приказов. Мы в бою, транспорт слушает. Мы в жопе, мы должны двигаться. Да, командир. Заряд.
Supplies delivered. Good
Коробочка
luck.
на приеме. Выдвигаемся. Грузовой автомобиль готов. Мы переезжаем. Логистика здесь. Снабжение заказывали? Логистика готова. Кому нужны припасы? Тяжелый транспорт здесь. Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке.
Без разведки ни шагу.
Лезем внутрь. Транспорт ждет приказа. Транспорт ждет приказа. Арту вызывали. Эхо здесь. Приказ понял. Едем. Транспорт заказывали? Приказ понял. Выезжаем. Я уж думал, нас забыли. Поехали. Да. Работаю. Мотолыга на связи. Поддай газку. Транспорт здесь. Т-72 готов к работе. Запускай машину.
Блять! Here comes the enemy artillery. We need to destroy it rapidly before our losses mount up. Their approximate coordinates have been marked. You know what to do.
And go.
Готов
Now,
совершать.
can I reach the artillery from here? Answer. Yes, I can.
Говорю громко. Говори, куда накрыть.
Well, I can reach half of it.
Понял. Транспорт здесь. Принял. Выдвигаюсь.
Where is...
Транспорт здесь. Кому нужны припасы? Грузовой автомобиль готов.
Where is... There's... There they are.
Логистика здесь. Давай прокатимся. Координаты. Накрыть площадь. Да, командир.
One artillery battery destroyed. Keep up the good work, Commander.
Доворачиваем на курс. Ложимся на новый курс. Летим на ППМ.
The enemy artillery has been silenced. Отлично.
Врубай форсаж. Координаты получены, доворачиваем.
Oh, right, I didn't take care of the Patriots.
Всем выйти из боя, возврат.
Well, that was a mistake. I completely forgot about the SAMs.
Готов сотрясать землю. Готов. Сделаю.
Good job, Commander! Enemy air defense eliminated!
Тяжелый транспорт здесь. Поездка окончена. Логистика готова. Разгружай картоху. Грузовик снабжения готов к транспортировке. Принял. Выдвигаюсь. Транспорт, слушаю. Заводи мотор. Двигаюсь к точке. Снабжение заказывали? Мы переезжаем. Дорога наш дом. Как ракетные сани на рельсах. Арт-расчет на связи. Накрыть площадь.
The skies are clear again for our Air Force.
Остаемся здесь. Тяжелый транспорт здесь. Выполняю.
Now, next.
Боевая машина пехоты на связи. Катимся. Куда вас доставить? Дай газку. Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке. Выгружаю. Т-72 на связи. Ведем бой. Исход! На дорогу! Куда вас доставить? Пути. Доворачиваем на курс. Летим на ППМ. Куда вас довезти? Приказ понял, выезжаем. Бомбы выбрать, главное проверить. Больше скорости, богу скорости. Вбомбим их в каменный век. Цель отработана, отходим. Боеприпасы ушли, задача выполнена. Возвращаемся на базу. Т-72 на марше. Транспорт на связи. Экипаж готов. Понял. Коробочка. Стрелок, цель. Логистика здесь. Как ракетные сани на рельсах. Транспорт, слушаем. Т-72, слушай. Мы под огнем. ТТ на связи. Мы под огнем. Громко и четко. Транспорт, слушаем. МТЛБ, слушаем. Транспорт заказывали? Заводи мотор. Транспорт заказывали? Принял. Выдвигаемся. Бэха здесь. Двигаюсь к точке. Да. Работаю.
Okay. We need another truck. Truck.
Логистика готова. Выдвигаемся. Куда вас довести? Выдвигаюсь. Арту вызывали.
Just to keep the artillery firing.
Т-72 вызывали? Транспорт заказывали? Выбрасывай! Транспорт, слушаю. Разгружаемся. 72-ка. Уже в пути. Транспорт на связи. Мы переезжаем. Громко и четко. Враги на моем пути. Огонь! Коробочка на приеме. Прием. Мотолыга здесь. Мотолыга на связи.
Beware, Commander! US Marines helicopters inbound! You crossed the river just in time. To be caught during the crossing with your pants down would have been a massacre!
Мотолыга на приеме. Уже еду. Т-72 готов к работе.
Okay, well that worked better than it normally does. Right.
Транспорт на связи. Приказ понял. Едем. Логистика готова. Поддай газку. Куда вас доставить? Как
They didn't
ракеты
give this
сзади наверх.
a new picture. Interesting. I mean, it doesn't really need one. Just it's interesting.
Экипаж готов. Погнали. Мотолыга тут. Бэха, слушай. Пути. Снабжение заказывали? Выдвигаюсь. Транспорт здесь. Приказ понял, выезжаем. Дорога наш дом. Т-72 готов. МТЛБ, слушай. Транспорт ждет приказа. Уже еду. Т-72, слушай. Прикрытие обстрела. Работаем. Боевая машина пехоты здесь.
You're almost there, Commander. Not a step back. Capture the enemy headquarters. They're pulling back their last forces to defend it.
Транспорт ждет приказа. Катимся. Тактический грузовик готов к перевозке. Вечеринка окончена. Вылазим, парни. Понял. Пехота в бою. Так точно, заходим. Добавим жару. Проверим этот дом. Пехота, по нам работают! Штурмуем это здание! Пехота на связи. Какие ваши указания? Это пехота, у нас есть 300 и 200. Мотолыга на приеме. Давай прокатимся.
Yes, I'm aware. Well, we're also currently hip deep in chaos.
Excellent! The enemy headquarters has been destroyed. The remnants of the enemy forces are retreating.
Yay! Hopefully it'll stick this time. That was about my 5th time trying that. No, it still says finish. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna do Forbidden Waters and see what happens.